Welcome. Welcome to Community Unitarian Universalist Church here in Plano, Texas. My name is Reverend Dr. Aija Duelm. I am the minister of this congregation, and I am so glad to see you here, joining us in person and joining us online. Thank you for being here. We have started our stewardship drive. This is something that we do once a year, usually March. So you get to hear a lot of talk about money, giving, you're hearing the ask, could you please pledge for the next year? And what we do is we are asking you to promise in a tangible form what you could give to this church, because it tells us what is important to us and what we want to do next year. It allows us to plan what programs we might want. Can we keep this building or the staff that we have? And all of these kind of nitty-gritty things that we learn from how much people are able to give us from these pledges. We give for various reasons. Here we ask to give so that we can support our mission, to work for justice, to nourish spirits, and transform lives. You may have received email. You will probably, most likely, receive a phone call. If you don't pledge, you may receive more than one phone call and a visit. If you would like to visit, please do. Stewards are willing to visit with you. And if you would like to be the one that visits others and be a visiting steward, please join the team. They have a training after the service today. And they can tell you all about it, what it takes and what you say and what you don't say during those visits. We would love to have your help. Just come on up and join us. And we have had, the leaders of this church have started to make the pledges already. 20 people have already made their promise for the next year, and we have raised $43,700 so far. So it's a very great start. And I hope that you will join in so we can raise the rest of the amount that we need for the next year. Because this is that Stewardship Drive month, today we will talk about giving. You will hear a lot about how giving can change us, can change the world. And if you don't believe it, did you notice the parking lot today? Yes. This was Women's Alliance who gave to this church so that we could stripe the parking lot. Thank you. Sci Center also contributed to this parking lot, but you see already how giving can change our experience when we give. Thank you so much to all Women's Alliance who contributed and Sci Center who contributed. Giving is not just about the money and donations. It is about how we live and the impact we create in this world. And our generosity has that power to make an impact on this world, on our lives, on each other. Wherever you are on your journey, I'm glad you're here and welcome. So glad to see new faces as well. Rebecca Ann Parker said these words: "Your gifts, whatever you discover them to be, can be used to bless or curse the world. The mind's power, the strength of hands, the reaches of the heart, the gift of speaking, listening, imagining, seeing, waiting, any of these can serve to feed the hungry, bind up wounds, welcome the stranger, praise what is sacred, do the work of justice, or offer love. And any of these can draw down the prison door, hoard bread, abandon the poor, obscure what is holy, comply with injustice, or withhold love. You must answer this question. What will you do with your gifts? Choose to bless the world. We will begin by lighting our chalice.
Our chalice lighting is by Atticus Palmer, and Aija McBride is lighting it for us.
We call this light before us in hope that we may always remain a strong community, working together to make the world a better place. When we are grieving or sad, when we are challenged, when we need help, this flame guides us out of the darkness. And when we are cheerful, when we celebrate, when we accomplish a great task, when we return to a place that makes us happy, the chalice reminds us to share our happiness with others.
Thank you, Aija. A covenant is the promise we have made to one another about the way we will walk together as a community, a congregation. Please join me in reminding ourselves of this promise as we say together, "Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in freedom, and to help one another."
In our 50 years, we've had 24 different presidents, 14 men and 10 women. 7 of these women have served in the last 10 years. Today, I will introduce those here, as well as talk a little bit about the unique things these people have accomplished for their church, and in some cases, the greater world. When I introduce you, please stand. In 1978, it was Joe Barlow. He signed the contract for our first building and dug the first hole to start construction. In 1982, it was Bob Jeff Longan. Yes, that's Dr. Bob Jeff Longan, a West Texas boy with this name on his birth certificate. He was head of Frito-Lay research developing new products. We used to do fundraiser taste tests for an unknown stack company. When I got this assignment to manage our 50th anniversary, I first thing I did was try to call Frito-Lay to replicate this event, but I got nowhere. In 1985, Mary McKee was our first woman president. Having 2 girls when we arrived in 1982 was kind of proud of us, until I did research for this presentation where I found 6 men turned down the position before it was offered to the current vice president. In 1986, our president, Wally Anderson, was a PhD at Texas Instruments doing the first research into speech recognition. It was fascinating listening to him tell me what he did. One of the first applications was in the Atlanta airport train system. The voice is a Dallas disc jockey, and I think it's the same voice today. I wish I'd done a better job in teaching how what representative meant. In 1988, I was the only president that was not nominated. I chaired the nominating committee. We have a bylaw that says you cannot recommend a candidate from that committee. We did not have a candidate for president, so my friends petitioned me to be president. For the first 13 years, the president did the announcements every Sunday. I changed that to share with the whole board. We have evolved a long way with our current Worship Associate program. In 1989, it was Chet Smith. Stand up there, Chet. In 1995, it was Wally Anderson for a second term. He shepherded us through our first approved deficit budget. We ended the year with a balanced budget. In 1997, it was Dick Hillenbrand. In 1999, Jody Zoller served her first of 2 terms. During Jody's second term, she shepherded us through the flood and the pandemic, challenging times. In 2009, it was Sarah Reiling who served 2 different terms. In 2014, it was Elena Westbrook. In 2023, it was Deb Bless. Deb's presidency focused on safety and security for our congregation and facility. One memorable moment, she says, was walking into the conference room for a meeting and coming face to face with a feisty raccoon that had fallen through the ceiling. And currently, we have Barb Salvo. Now, they were supposed to stay standing, but we have 7 of the 9 presidents that are still participating in this church, in this room. For the next volunteer, we all would be more than willing to help answer any questions you may have about serving this congregation. Thank you for all your service.
Ben Rogers has this illustration. When you go to a doctor for your annual checkup, the doctor will often start to poke and prod and press in various places, all the while asking, "Does this hurt? And how about now?" If you cry out in pain, one of 2 things has happened. Either the doctor has poked too hard, with not a lot of sensitivity, or there is something wrong. And the doctor will say, "We'd better do some more tests. It's not supposed to hurt there." Today we're talking about money, about giving, about financial responsibility. And often this is a rather difficult topic to give and to receive. Even among us, we have some people who are crying out in discomfort. "No, stop talking about money, I can't handle it." And then one is clear, either the minister has pushed too hard, or there's something wrong, because it's not supposed to hurt there. We give to others on a regular basis. We invite our friends to tea and dinner. We may have paid for a stranger's groceries. We have offered kindness to people during the travel season. Even baked cookies for our neighbors. I have done it. During pandemic, we baked cookies and we gave to our neighbors, and then I put some in our mailbox. Little did I know that later I will meet the woman who was our mail person that day, because it turns out we both were at the community garden, both were gardeners, and she remembered the cookies. They made her day. We give because giving is all we have. It is part of how we share our compassion, our care, our love. When we give when we have something to give, and we also give when we have very little left to give. The news often lifts up the extremes. They write with bold letters about billionaires who have given away their fortunes. Andrew Carnegie was probably the first to state publicly that the rich have an obligation to give away their wealth. He gave away 90% of his fortune. Today's dollars, that is about $309 billion. Bill Gates and Warren Buffett established a Giving Pledge Foundation to encourage the rich to give or to contribute more than 50% of their wealth to philanthropic causes. About 236 people have pledged to give away this amount either during their lifetime or upon their death. The news also lifts up the other extreme, how people who live in poverty give to others, care for others, how they relate to each other with a sense of shared hardship, shared struggle and dependence on one another for simply basic needs. Research and statistics show that poor people are more likely to give a homeless person food or money than rich people are. And those who have little give higher percentage of their income than those who have a lot. This research reports to NPR that giving is about compassion, about care. Giving is what we do, because giving is all we have. And yes, sometimes it is difficult. Some of us here have had to change our plans when a family member gets sick and we've become a caregiver. Some of us have offered a place to stay to a friend in need, and maybe someone else's child took in. And these are situations that may and sometimes does create hardships. But we give anyways. And psychologists have concluded that giving has positive effects on our well-being. It is a powerful pathway to personal growth and to lasting happiness. Scientific research shows through MRI technology that giving activates the same parts of the brain that are stimulated by food and sex. It might be that giving is that secret to living a life full of happiness and full of meaning, more productive and wealthier, healthier life. You may have felt that inner feeling of joy when you offered something as a gift to another person and your gift was received with deep gratitude. You know you made a difference, however big or small, but certainly a meaningful one. You may have received a very generous gift from somebody, and it has meant a great deal to you. It certainly fills my heart when I see generosity in action. It makes the ministry work so much more worth doing when giving is part of what we do, not because it is a business transaction, even though sometimes it can feel that way, but because giving is our spiritual practice. Just like prayer, meditation, and worship, giving and generosity is a spiritual practice. And the more we practice, the better we become at it. As a spiritual practice, generosity is about the way of being in life. It comes from recognizing that despite all the problems in this world, the planet is a beautiful place and an incredible gift to us. We're surrounded by beauty, by gift of life, by joys and pleasures, including amazing relationships with friends and partners. And we move through life with attention to kindness and compassion and generosity, because we believe change is possible. You probably know some very generous people. I know them. In fact, many of them are sitting right here in this sanctuary. People with open hearts, with generous spirits who are moved to write a card when you hear that a fellow member has gotten sick People who give their time to come here to this church when you could be doing a multitude of other things on Sunday mornings, like sleeping. People who come here to worship, to plan events, to organize meetings, to set up tables and chairs for a meeting or for an event, to connect with others, to learn, to grow, to tend to each other's spirits, to figure out how to get the building fixed and bills paid, to work on the board. And you know, to be a board president is kind of like having a full-time job. And we give money too, because without it, this place is not possible. And yes, it is a stewardship month, so I will mention money. We give so that the work can continue. We promise this money for the next year so that we can figure out and work on the mission that we have come to agree upon, to organize events, to work for justice, to nourish spirits. Also so that we can figure out how to fight against the barrage of the executive orders dismantling the democracy right now and squashing the rights of people. And so that we do not do this work alone. Our future work depends on our generosity. We have struggled for some time to recover financially after the pandemic that interrupted our income stream patterns. But we are very hopeful that we can rise again. And in that spirit, this year we are asking that you give $50 extra every month to this church. $50 a month. It's kind of like having one dinner. Can you treat a church to a dinner a month? It will hopefully help us bring us closer to a lesser deficit than we have had. If you are retired and blessed with having lived in this world for more than 70 years, your giving directly from your IRA is non-taxable and will count towards your R&D. So I'm just saying there's more benefit than just your heart being happy. I give to this church too, so I will put my gift on the table. It's rather uncommon for the staff person to be giving to the employer. So not every minister does that. Other ministers choose to give to other organizations and other projects rather than their own place of employment. And we usually do not disclose how much we give, but I will add one more ask, and I will tell you how much I give. Every month, I give $300. You know my salary. It's in the budget that you approved during the congregational meeting. If Plano median income is $56,000, my salary is just slightly above it. That will give you some idea of why I chose this number. If you're wondering why I made this choice, I give because I believe in what we are doing here. This is one of the places, one of those few and rare places in Texas where a person is able to come out and be who they are meant to be when the rest of the Texas is going after them. This is one of the rare places in Texas where being liberal is not a curse word. And If the last 50 years is any indication of what this church can be in the future and can do in the future, I want to be a part of it. So I give. And I invite you to consider generosity. If you can, give as much as I give more, or give what you can. Be generous also with your eyes and touch. Welcome people and signal to them that they are welcome and accepted by you. Be generous with your skills and intelligence. Work toward making the world a better place. Be generous with your heart. Grow your personal relationships. Be generous with your muscle. Help people when they need you to add your strength to theirs. And maybe this wasn't the sermon that you needed to hear today. But maybe it doesn't hurt to remind ourselves to lean into that generous part of yourself. Whichever way, thank you for opening your hearts and your wallets and for believing in the mission of this church. Amen. Michael Schuler's words for the benediction. If you are proud of this church, become its advocate. If you are concerned for its future, share its message. If its values resonate deep within you, give it a measure of your devotion. This church cannot survive without your faith, your confidence, your enthusiasm. Its destiny, the larger hope, rests in your hands. Amen.